Oklahoma ranks 20th in the nation in the number of women killed by men. And now the pandemic has trapped many victims inside their homes with an abuser under additional stress. But there is hope. $8 million in new federal funding has just been awarded to local, state, tribal, and nonprofits to combat the problem. And one survivor knows that money can be a lifesaver.
On a stormy night in April 2017, I found myself at the mercy of a man that I'd once trusted. Rather than choosing to have an amicable post-divorce relationship, he chose instead to become a stalker and a thief and a kidnapper. The only two reasons I am alive today is because of my faith in God and the resources made available for domestic violence funding.
Elisa Hennon is courageously sharing her story in hopes of helping save others from the horror she experienced and survived.
He waited for me to return home from work, and when I did, he tased me, zip-tied me, duct-taped me. He broke my ribs as he shoved me into his truck. I believe that would have been my very last ride had it not been for the people here today and their funding.
Hennon was kidnapped along with her dog, Josie, and both were eventually rescued in Arkansas and returned home to Broken Arrow by her two adult sons. Now happily remarried, she says 28 domestic violence warriors went to battle for her, and now some of their organizations are receiving much-needed additional funding. The city of Tulsa is receiving $750,000. Its district courts another $450,000. Native tribes have been awarded more than $3 million, $850,000 of that going to the Choctaw Nation.
We plan to use that money to provide assistance to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking via transitional living assistance and transitional housing assistance, creating life plans and success plans to transition them from a violent relationship to a violence-free lifestyle.
It's a big game changer because money is a lot of times the biggest problem that hinders victims from growing and getting to a safe spot.
The Supreme Court's recent McGirt decision, which transferred prosecution of violent crimes committed by tribal members from state to federal jurisdiction, has made the $8 million in new funding more important than ever.
We are seeing more and more domestic violence cases come into the federal court system. In fact, since that decision, my office has received 17 domestic violence cases, with at least one of those resulting in the death of the victim.
Domestic Violence Intervention Services, or DVIS, a nonprofit that serves the Tulsa metro area, reports that strangulation calls, a key indicator that an abuser is capable of murder, increased by 40% in June of 2020, and that crisis calls are up 22% this summer. 3 years ago, Elisa Hennon was able to text a coded SOS that probably saved her life.
He held me naked in a horse trailer for many hours until I offered to reconcile and remarry him for a fresh start. Surprisingly, miraculously, he believed me. Then I was allowed to text my two safety people.
Hennon's tormentor was taken into custody, stood trial, and was convicted on all counts in an hour. He is currently serving 2 concurrent 20-year terms in a federal prison. But the story isn't over yet.
It's never easy to have to try a case twice, especially tough on a victim. That's why I use the word resiliency to talk about Elisa. She testified in the same courtroom against her abuser once. A jury found him guilty. A technicality reversed it, and we are going to do it again. And you're right, we will doggedly pursue that case because it is the right thing to do, and people like Elisa deserve justice at every turn.
Joining Shores to echo that message were his fellow U.S. attorneys from Oklahoma's western and eastern districts.
But oftentimes the last hurdle to clear as we work toward accomplishing or working toward a worthwhile purpose is the funding hurdle.
I simply refer to these cases as homicide prevention, because that's what they are.
No one knows that better or appreciates it more than Elisa Hennon and her family.
He may have had a dark plan to control my life that night and possibly end it, but there was obviously a greater plan at work. The plan included meeting extraordinary people who dedicate their lives every day to protecting and serving others. To women in my position or men, know that there is hope. And when you sign that piece of paper, You have the backing of all of these people behind you.
Some of the others receiving funding include the Native Alliance Against Violence. They were awarded a grant of $600,000. And the Oklahoma Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Assault, which received $243,000.